Have you ever wanted something for years that you could easily buy through mail order at any time? That's been the case for me with the Gurkha Kukri pattern knife. I've always kind of liked the Kukri pattern. I've heard that they make great bush knives, and I've found that to be the case. The thing is, though, it's kind of difficult to find, actually handle a real Kukri knife, because hardly anybody actually carries them. I've looked for them at gun shows and at Smoky Mountain Knife Works and various places, and I just can't find one. When I do find one, it's a cheap knockoff. It's one that was made in Pakistan or something like that for the export market, but it's not a real Kukri. I remember the first time I ever saw a real Kukri, and it came with the two little small blades that I've since learned are actually intended for sharpening the main blade, or one of them is. I think one of them is like a little skinning knife or something, and the other one is to use for sharpening the main blade, according to what I've read. Anyway, this was back in the 70s that I saw one, and the finish of the thing, it just looked like a cheap knife that you wouldn't really want. It was probably only about $5 or something, but the finish quality of it kind of turned me off, and so I didn't buy it, for the same reason that I didn't buy a minimum of 10 SKSs, Chinese SKSs, back when you could buy those for $59.95 each. I should have bought a crate of those things in retrospect, but I guess it was just, I couldn't believe that a good rifle could actually be that cheap. And it was the same thing with the Kukri knife. But I've since learned, from reading and everything, that they're highly thought of as a bush knife, and they're actually made of good steel. And so back in the 80s, I started thinking that I wanted one to try it out and see if it really lived up to the hype. So I bought a Kukri pattern knife, or actually traded for one. I traded an Air Force survival knife for the name of it is Sergeant Bulldog, and it was made in Alabama. But it was a stainless steel blade, and not a real Kukri. Decent knife, but I'm not crazy about stainless steel blades anyway. And so a few years ago I bought this, which is the cold steel Kukri, and this is, it's probably better than a real Kukri in reality. And I got this for actually less than the price of a real Kukri. I got this for $20, believe it or not. And this is not the machete version. See how thick that blade is? That's the real cold steel Kukri. And the reason I got it so cheap is it's because, I bought this after Camillus went out of business. And Camillus, of course, made the carbon 5 steel. And Cold Steel ground their name off and sold the last of the carbon 5 blades at a discount as like blim or something like that, blemished knives. But it's not actually blemished. I know they sold a lot of their knives without, before they even put the edge on it, but this one had the edge. But they basically just clearanced out all their carbon 5 blades as soon as they could no longer get carbon 5. So anyway, that's a good knife, but I still didn't have a real Kukri. It's still not a real Kukri. And now I've finally gotten around to getting one, and the reason I did is because I needed to order a Mauser extractor anyway from Sarco, and I didn't want to pay shipping on just an extractor, so I figured I needed to peruse their website and see if there was anything else I wanted. Well, then I remembered that they're the supplier of the real original Kukri. So I bought one. And here it is. That's a pretty decent looking sheath. It's wood covered with some sort of leather, buffalo hide or something. And it's got a brass cap on the end. Let's see if I'm in the viewfinder here, or on the camera. Those look like hand-peened rivets. I'm sure that's exactly what they are. So, you know, looks quite serviceable anyway. I don't even have a sheath for the cold steel. I need to get one or make one or something. Alright, here's one of the cheap, crappy looking little blades. It's really thin, but it seems to be pretty good steel though. It has spring to it, it's not bending. And there's the other one. And here's the star of the show. See if I can get it out of this bag. There it is. That's the real deal. The genuine military Kukri. And it has no edge on it. So I'm going to have to file an edge into it. It's got a little bit of rust on it too. In a couple of spots. Got some right there. There. And here at the tip. It's a full tang blade for strength. Now it's not as thick as the cold steel, but that makes it lighter. It feels good in the hand. Actually, you know, the cold steel, it's got that rubber craton grip. Man, you got to use gloves with that because it'll braid your hand pretty bad. But this, it's a wooden grip. It looks like walnut. And that feels a lot better. So keep watching for more on this knife.